Yo and hello, welcome to another episode of the League of Fantasy Legends podcast.
Yo and hello,
I forgot to mute my own screen. Here we go, League of Fantasy Legends podcast. I am Pistons Wish, Chris Benedict. I am your host. Biscuit could not be here today. He's got family stuff going on. No worries, we have a guest with us. It is Million Miles. You can see him on the stream. For those of you watching live, he's a member of the ATM crew, which is a daily esports betting, daily fantasy website. I believe you subscribe, get some picks, win some money. Gives picks on prize picks, flip betting, esports betting. That's how we kind of connected. And we are connected now by our hate of CLG after they blew both of our bets this week. I had a big one riding on an under from Immortals. Didn't work out. Miles, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are yourself?
I am fantastic. Been a good weekend. That's finally kind of rolling back to the grind tomorrow. But first, we get to talk about some Fantasy League of Legends. That's what I like to talk about. So I'm happy to be here. Tell me about yourself. How'd you get into esports?
Well, first of all, I want to just, the hate for CLG flows strongly through me.
Yes, absolutely.
They ruined the 5-legger that we had running on. It was a combined LPL and LCS play, so it really ruined things for everyone. But how I got actually into League of Legends when I was in the military.
Okay.
Came back from a deployment. One of the guys was playing it in his room.
Okay.
And I walked in, and he was playing it nonstop. And this was back in, I want to say, 2014.
Okay. So that's even a little bit before I started.
Yeah. So this was pretty much back at the start of things.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't say.
What's that, season 4? I think.
Yeah, I think it'd been out for 3 or 4 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So I started playing, and I don't play to this day. I just have way too much going on.
Yep.
Family and stuff like that. So
same.
I can't spend hours upon hours grinding on League. But no, I got into it. I played top lane. And I was spin to win, baby. Garen all the way with Garen and Cho'Gath. That was my two that I would love to play.
So the mechanical change, you're trying to outplay your opponents. I love it. Yeah, I'm about the same way. Obviously married. I've got a kid. I think you said you do too. So yeah, maybe an ARAM here or there. That's about all I got in me.
Oh man, I wish I could even get onto that. I moved away from, when I got out of the barracks, I moved away from PC and stayed with console because it was easier.
Certainly.
Moving from place to place, so.
Oh, and it's so much easier to just hop on, play 1 or 2 games of whatever it is you're playing, COD or Rocket League's my true love playing wise.
Oh wow, okay, yeah. COD was my first love. Somebody introduced it to me.
Oh yeah, that's high school for me. Yeah, that's old.
Or if you really want to go way back into it, it was Halo.
Yeah, of course.
Halo started it all. All the different. Or I mean, shit, if you even want to go back, how far you
all the way back.
I mean,
all the way. Let's do it.
Let's go back to the LAN parties of GoldenEye. Where you're doing that. That was the way back days. But yeah, Halo really came out, burst on the scene, with those LAN parties. You get everybody at night, and everybody's bringing over Xboxes and TVs, and you hook them up all together, and then you've got, then Halo 2 came out, and that was when, everything took off from there.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. You've aged yourself as very slightly older than me because GoldenEye is like a distant memory of childhood. So, and I'm a boomer in the esports world. I'm the boomer. So, man.
Yeah, it's so weird to think that myself as young as I am is ancient in the video gaming world.
Oh yeah, and it's funny. I don't know why I'm going to bring this up, but I just remember as the first time a big time athlete was older than me. It was Kyrie Irving. He went to Duke and was flexing on everyone. I was a freshman in college. Like, this guy is younger than me. Like, there's no way that he's and it's like days. So
it was.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I could go on. You could tell me to be quiet. I can talk for days. But my only connection with anybody remotely famous, I was in high school, and there was this young freshman quarterback just slicing up our high school football league, and this high school quarterback just happened to be Jared Goff.
There you go.
So when I was a senior kicking in high school, and we got sliced up by Jared Goff.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
Jared Goff of my true love Detroit Lions, who are going to win the Super Bowl next year. You heard it.
You have a legit chance. I think you guys got snubbed this year. But
it's the first time in my 30 years of life that I think you can say that with any actual certainty, minus maybe the one Stafford, Calvin Johnson, and Ndamukong Suh year. Okay.
Yeah, I think you guys made out of that trade though with the Rams.
Yeah, it seems like it. Although the Rams got the Super Bowl, so how can you really say they lost?
Well, I mean, you guys got all the draft picks.
That's true. That's true.
I think you won.
I hope so. I gotta know, do you have like a single esports or League of Legends betting moment that sticks in your mind? Like, man, I hit this one and it was, I don't know, extra awesome.
There's a lot that are. God, you could.
You don't become a professional bet recommender without winning a few, I suppose.
So I've had. I mean, there's been. You've had the big swings and the down swings.
Of course.
I've the biggest one I had, and I only started last December. I only got into it because prior to that I was doing DFS on DraftKings and stuff like that.
Yep.
I got into Price Picks for football, and then all of a sudden I saw they had league, and I was like, "Oh, I know about this."
Yep.
It was actually when they offered EU Masters last year in December. And I don't think anybody was doing anything. And it was because they didn't open the 6-mans up yet on Prize Picks.
Right.
And it was a 5-man play. And it was, best of ones. And I don't know what drove me to do it. But I threw down $1,700 on a 5-man and won.
Oh my Lord, 17 grand.
Yeah.
Wow. That is incredible. On EU Masters.
Yeah, on EU Masters. Yeah, legit EU Masters. One of the sweatiest ones in that was a top laner for 1.5 kills.
Okay.
I still remember the team. Eindrich Spandau. They're in the German. They're in the German league.
Listen, you're gonna remember it if it won you $17K.
Yeah, they had 3. They only had 3 kills that game.
My God!
And the top laner had 2.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
it was good.
A ridiculous win. But as it's not all great and stuff.
Oh no.
I think the biggest loss I've had is probably almost somewhat similar or close to that. I wouldn't say 17K, but I would say almost close to 5 figures is what I've probably lost in a day. But I mean, like last night, LCK, LPL just tore us a new one, and then they just everything was just bad.
Yeah,
I just checked my phone in the middle of the night. I calmly put it back down and went to bed. It's like there's no point in me staying awake.
I wouldn't.
And then this morning happens. I feel very defeated, and
I saw it. Yep.
And lo and behold, the CV LOL and LEC come through for us.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I've kind of been. I actually downloaded Prize Picks literally for the League of Legends props right about when I started doing this podcast, which was about a year ago. Not putting down nearly the money that you are, but I love it, man. We don't talk about it much here, mostly because I know there are a lot of people who will do a lot better job, which is like what you guys do. So we stick mostly to these sleeper leagues, these fantasy long leagues. I want to grab into this Super League, which is a league that we do with a couple different content creators. So we've got a couple different ones here. So the guy we played last week, the Live Evil Pod, so they're an Evil Geniuses fan podcast. Trees here's to Team Liquid fan podcast. Deep Impact here, he's the FlyQuest fan podcast. And a couple other ones. David here, he does some League of Legends media. This guy's a play-by-play caster. This person's from the NA Men podcast. This guy's a PT for some of the players, actually. Our matchup this week, we absolutely stole a win. If you look at it, the base scores, we lost by almost 100. But when you take into account picks and bans, we won by 9. And if you look at it, we hit with the massive Zeri double ban here on double lift. A 50-point swing just in that one. We hit Nami here for 25 for Vulcan. Vikla took 17 points. Inspired took 19 points. We were feeling good about our picks and bans. We do picks and bans live on stream on Tuesday nights, and so let this be an example of why you should tune in, I suppose. So that was kind of awesome. I know you've got a league. This is kind of how we connected. You posted about your league. I commented on Twitter. If I remember right, your team is insane. I kind of looked at it. I was like, how did this happen?
I mean, I hope it's insane. I'm 1-1, but yeah. So if I pull it up here, I drafted. Let me see if I can even pull up my draft. I drafted from the 8th spot, so not very.
Yeah, you wouldn't think you'd have.
Yeah, I was not very happy about that. Obviously, I was kind of hoping, with absolutely no faith in it, Prince falling to that position. But I believe I took FBI as my first pick, all the way in the back there, and then I think I rounded it out with Inspired.
So from my preseason draft board, I've got it here. I'm gonna pull it up just so we can see how insane it is. Preseason rankings: FBI 1, Inspired 5 is what we had here on the pod. So yeah, 5-1 at the 8th spot is pretty nice.
Yeah, and then I was able to grab Impact. At that point, I was like, I gotta grab somebody at least from FlyQuest for wins. And then by that time, kind of all the mid laners had, kind of gone. So I was like, I gotta grab somebody. And I had faith in CLG. I had faith in them from last year. They were the only roster kind of returning in full.
Oh yeah.
I was like, they're gonna have to do something. And he did great in week 1, and then just absolutely decided, to shit the bed.
I mean, terrible. Like really, really bad.
Really bad on week 2. He, 7 points in a loss to Immortals, and yeah, you're not going to do much against C9, but I mean,
yeah,
you know what you're going to expect against those matchups. But I mean, at least Immortals, he should have won.
Yeah, Immortals is the team we've been targeting. They're supposed to lose every game, and took the win against CLG. That one, and to be honest, sometimes you get players that do poorly, and you kind of blame the team. I kind of put that on Palafox. I don't know whose call it was to pick Aurelia, but it wasn't it.
If I remember correctly, he blind picked that.
He blinded it. Yeah, he blinded it.
He blinded it in the second pick phase. And basically threw down the gauntlet to, who's
that? Yeah, Blaze Olive.
Yeah, he threw down the gauntlet to Blaze Olive.
Who, to that point, did not have a kill yet in the LCS this year.
Yeah, and he threw down the gauntlet and just got absolutely smoke checked on it.
Yeah, that again, and we were, at least I don't know where your bet was exactly. Mine was the under for for tactical 2.5, and watching Palafox try to 2v1 in the bot lane against the Lucian Nami and just like die. I'm just sitting there with my hands on my head. It's like, come on, brutal.
I believe I had one of those. Let me go through here and see my entries. I believe I think I had tactical under, and then he ruined it, and I was like, well, I gotta find something else, and I threw some other stuff together and and pulled out the victory for that.
Okay.
But yeah, that was. I gotta filter all through all this LCK and stuff.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah, Tactical had 6, so he ruined that.
Yep.
He ruined a 6-man pick, and
he was the only one out of 6. That's tough. Mine was 4 that he killed.
Yeah, well, FBI also did as well, but against Dig. But that one was more along the lines of them running rough shot over Dig, and Dig not. It's funny. Dig is probably one of the slowest playing teams. They've been that way for a while,
right?
And I still thought with the amount of kill share and kill participation that FBI is a part of, that JoJo's not really playing well, at least for the most part of the season.
Not at all.
I thought it'd be a safe bet.
Right.
As soon as you start thinking things are a safe bet, it's not.
Exactly.
So FBI and Tactical were the ones that sold, and then once that happened, I scrambled and picked up Neo and Double Lift on that, and they carried things away for us.
Yeah. Yeah, Neo was bad. Double Lift was very good. You'll hear from us about him later. We can get into the recap of last week. We usually start with the guys who sucked, pooped in their pants, if you will. And, the teams, CLG was the first one I had mentioned. We had already talked about Palafox. They were terrible across the board. You can see on the screen here, we've got contracts in this Super League, and he scored 4.2 points on the week. That's a 2-game combined score. That was minus 0.6 against C9. All of CLG was bad, and you expect them to at least get something against Immortals, and that was really no better. Yeah,
it was not a good showing from at least the teams that lost this week.
Well, honestly, all of them were brutal. I think we had 4 teams go 0-2, so that's what you'll hear from us in this section. TSM, after the huge week 1, comes back down to earth. They had a tough schedule, admittedly, but they were not any good. We had a long discussion in last week's episode, deciding, because as you can see we have Jensen here as well. Dignitas also terrible once again. We were trying to decide, do we drop Jensen for Maple? And the answer was it doesn't matter because they were both terrible.
Man, I guess it goes back into, what do you think happens later on in the season? Does Dignitas pull out their big boy pants and stop being a thrown together super team? Or I don't even know if you can call them a super team.
Right.
Because, Spawn in the bot lane is just absolutely horrible.
It was very strange when he was the pickup, honestly.
Yeah. Santorin's is not doing it, and Jensen, bless his heart, he came, C9 fan here, so he's just not doing it, man. It kind of looks like with Bjergsen and Double Lift, those guys are veteran enough to be able to beat the teams they're supposed to beat, but they're not good enough to beat the young talent. And that's probably how it's going to go.
So far at least, yeah. Yeah, and to be fair to Dignitas, they've had a pretty tough schedule so far. Of the what I think are pretty consensus top 4 teams, being EG, FlyQuest, C9, and 100 Thieves, in no particular order. They've played 3 of the 4, so you'd kind of expect them to lose those 2 games. The problem, or those 3 rather, the problem is the way they've looked at while losing has been absolutely horrendous. Spawn, you mentioned it. We had him ranked as the number 7 AD carry coming in, so not high, but enough that he's rostered in most 8-man leagues. He's got 6.19 points on the season. That's over 4 games. So he's 1.52 points a game.
Yeah, in the world that I'm coming from, if they've been keeping Spawn at 3 kills. I think they finally dropped him down. I think on Thursday they dropped him down to 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
I got him at 3 for sure.
Yeah. This is still too high. You could take it lower. It's ridiculous.
Especially against 100 Thieves and EG. I definitely hit both of those. Hit a 5-man on Thursday. That was heavily under on Team Dignitas, and I think was that the game they almost got perfect gamed, or that was Friday against EG. But yeah, I mean they've been bad. They get Immortals this week, and so I guess that'll be the question. Like, are they the worst team in the league? You wouldn't think so, with Jensen, Santorin, and Armut, but gosh.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at it right now, Immortals isn't the worst team.
No, they gotta win.
It's Dignitas and Golden Guardians.
Yep. And Golden Guardians, they went 0-2. I don't necessarily have them in the duds section just because they've been okay. Like, they've been competitive in losses, which, from a fantasy standpoint, is awesome for the teams they're playing because the stops, you don't score quite as high, but those game times get into 35, 40 minutes, and those scores start skyrocketing. So Golden Guardians is almost a team like you want to target them, like whoever they're playing, target their opponents.
Yeah, it's honestly, I mean, when you look at it, GG's top side is where they're gonna probably have to play through because, I mean, Stixay.
No faith in old man Stixay?
No, he's just not doing it in the bot lane. I mean, he's not really doing it with Stixay. Mm-hmm. I mean, you saw a little bit of signs of life when they brought Gory in.
Right.
He flew in, had like what hours of sleep or something like that. I heard on cast.
I didn't even know he was playing until I turned it on and his nameplate was there.
Yeah, and so I think that's just they're going to get that from him because I mean he's at least decent. Mm-hmm. And I mean Licorice is just, if he can get a good matchup, then he'll be able to be effective in the game. If not, then problems for that team.
Right. Yeah, and coming into the season, we had, at least on our podcast, kind of put it in a top 7 and a bottom 3. I think you can pretty confidently say it's a bottom 4 with Dignitas now, but Golden Guardians playing a bunch of teams from that top bracket, EG, Cloud9, FlyQuest, and Liquid so far. And so this week they get Immortals in CLG. This will be the week. Like, can you beat Immortals? Can you beat CLG? Are you the worst team, or are you just in that bracket of all the bad teams?
Yeah, it'll be an interesting. I think they should be able to beat Immortals. It'll be an interesting matchup with CLG.
Yeah, I believe I was gonna say I believe they're favored against Immortals.
Yeah, they should be. God, I hope they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna go look here on Pinnacle, but
I've actually got it here. They're
you got it?
Yeah, because we're gonna go through later, but minus 150 for Golden Guardians against Immortals.
Okay, yeah. Are they? I'm assuming. I haven't looked at them, but CLG favored for.
Yeah, they've got CLG minus 220, which is actually pretty high, I thought.
Yeah, that seems a little high.
Especially after CLG just dropped to Immortals.
Yeah, CLG just doesn't know how to finish.
Yeah,
their games go late, so it'd be nice to, at least pick somebody from the other side.
Right.
Target someone.
Yep. Yep. A couple other players I have here in this section. Players that weren't terrible, but maybe not as good as you were hoping. I've got Fudge and Blabber here after they went nuclear in week 1. Fudge went over 110. Blabber was also over 100. This week, just around 40 for both of them. Fudge 42.8, Blabber 40.7. Those two guys, they're like 5th both for their position, which is not what you were hoping. Especially if you thought they had a good chance against FlyQuest, which they got absolutely murdered in that game. You seem to be a FlyQuest believer.
I am.
Yeah.
I think it's basically an international team with Spica.
Yeah, I mean it is. Yeah.
So, Spica must be feeling in heaven, looking around, saying like, "This is what a good team feels like."
Uh-huh.
But I think with FlyQuest signing of Prince, I think I personally think FlyQuest is going to go to MSI from NA. And I said this from the beginning when they signed Prince. I said that they're going to be the top team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's holding true because again, it's no fault to NA's own, it's just we're just not there anymore. Like for whatever reason, the caliber of player that's coming is just not to the same level as what we're seeing international wise. I mean, we can compete with EU, but then when you start competing with China and Korea, that it just shows with FlyQuest. Like, and these guys that are on FlyQuest, and no fault to them, like they're not the top players where they were coming from. I mean, Prince set the LCK on fire last year.
Yeah, wasn't he like co-player of the split in the summer?
Yeah, and he was really he almost single-handedly dragged Live Sandbox through the regional playoff,
through the
regional play-in to Worlds, exactly. So he almost did it, but unfortunately, he just ran into this one team called DRX, who just happened to win the Worlds. Yeah,
the worst LCK team at Worlds, right?
Yeah. So and they grab him, and then they pull over Impact from EG, and you start building, this veteran presence with, Speak has been in for, I would say he's probably, a veteran of the LCS scene, probably not of League of Legends itself, but he's a veteran of LCS.
For sure.
Impact for sure is obviously a veteran, a player in his own right, and deservedly so. And then, you've got Winsome down on the bottom, with Prince, and they're doing well. And then, I mean, Vic was probably, he was, I would say, a top 5 LCK mid laner last year.
Yeah. Yeah, you've definitely got more LCK knowledge than I do. I just knew that they were both pretty good. Prince obviously carries the moniker of player of the split in LCK, which carries a lot of weight.
So, I mean, you've got these guys coming over, and, like, I mean, they're mediocre from where they come from, but when they come here, they're demigods among men. And it just kind of just, it should be an eye-opening to, like, teams like C9. I wouldn't say Liquid, because Liquid pretty much did the same thing, and pretty much imported everybody else. It's got to be an eye-opening to be like, hey, you're still not even it. Like, you could be good right now, you're going to get to Worlds and you're going to get smashed again, because you're getting smashed by these guys already. And I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, FlyQuest was skirting around playing C9 in scrims.
Oh, okay.
I think that was the only team that C9 had not scrimmed this year, or before preseason, or at least in preseason, that they hadn't scrimmed against. And I really do think it was because FlyQuest wanted to just absolutely destroy them.
Yeah, and they did. I mean, they did. FlyQuest has been a weird player. Obviously we are so heavily fantasy focused on this show. FlyQuest is 4-0 in League of Legends fantasy, as I'm sure you know, daily fantasy props. It's all about winning, right? Winning is so huge because you don't really get kills unless you win. Sounds stupid, but when I pull up the rankings, I've got them so far on the season. So I'll pull them up here. They're on the screen. The only FlyQuest player in the top 3 for their position is Prince. Prince is number 3, right? So he's behind FBI and Doublelift. And like you look otherwise, Impact's 4, Spica's 4, Vicla's 4, Winsome's 5. And so this team, despite winning, is not really producing for fantasy. They won 9-6 in their first game this week, and then the C9 game again, like a pretty low kill game. And so they're kind of a weird case where, first 3 games it was literally all Prince. Like Prince was the only player that mattered. No one else did anything. Obviously, the game against C9 was kind of the Vicla show. It's weird. I don't really know what to make of it. I actually have Prince here in the slight disappointment. Mostly, I mean, he wasn't a disappointment. He was 4th for his position at 51.7, but he won Player of the Week, which was.
Well, I mean, I think you could say statistically and fantasy wise this week, like if you had, just like any fantasy football player, like if you have like Tyreek Hill or something like that, the dude is supposed to go off, or you're expecting 20 to 30 points from him, and he only grabs you 15. You're like, Really?
It was
15?
fine. Yeah, exactly.
It's fine. Exactly. That's the same thing with Prince. It's like,
Yep.
it's fine, but like you could do better.
Yeah.
But
Right.
like, I mean, when you look at the draft that FlyQuest had, they target banned Blabber specifically.
Yep.
And then they allowed C9 to choose the matchup where they pretty much dictated. I think FlyQuest did a really good job in the draft, but they target banned Blabber and they dictated where the bot lane matchup was going to go to allow Prince and Winsome to play Caitlyn.
Right.
And that basically just shut down Berserker. So they take away
100%.
Blabber,
Yep.
he is the facilitator to open everything up. And if you shut down the AD carry, then you're taking away two major parts, and then all you need to have is Impact at least go even with Fudge, and Vikla, showed that Diplik still has some learning to do.
Yeah, and that 2v2 in the mid lane, I think it was a little unlucky, honestly. The I don't know if you watched it how closely, but Diplex takes the Akali follow, like the E follow, and it puts him on the wrong side of the wall as Silas goes over the wall. So I think then he has to flash, and then he's stuck. So that one was kind of unlucky. And then when Silas gets ahead, I mean, he's just disgusting.
Oh yeah, we saw it with Niski today in the LEC.
Yeah, the pentakill.
I mean, oh my god, I was
He wasn't
sweating that out.
He wasn't even really ahead at that point.
He was behind. He got put behind because Ruby. They really did a good job with Azir to put him behind. And honestly, credit to Niski all on his own. He's aggressive. Yep. He's going to make his own plays. And when Yoya grabbed the first Rift Herald, they dropped it mid lane and were able to get Niski his gold back. But get Silas ahead and
and
especially when you've got because they're not playing. I don't think they're playing on 13.1b. So Yumi is not broken or not nerfed. Yep. So obviously you've got Yumi building AP on Silas, and
so LEC's not on 13.1b, but LCS is. I know LCS was this week. I don't know about LEC.
LCS was the very first one to do it.
Weird. LCS played before LEC. That's bizarre.
Yeah, and LCK and LPL. LCK came out with their schedule this week and said we're playing all of our games on 13.1. And
weird.
LPL was like, okay, if they're doing it, we're doing it. So we'll see what happens.
It's for people who aren't quite the fanatics that we are. Talking about the patch, right? So a lot of nerfs came through, a lot of changes on 13.1b. I think it was supposed to be a whole patch, but it got delayed by all the stuff happening with Riot with the cyber attack. So basically, just a lot of stuff. Yumi ban specifically. To go back to that Prince point, his stats for the week, just because I think it's wild that he got Player of the Week. He was 5-1-6 over 2 games. I mean, it's just wild. He scored half the points of Doublelift, almost exactly half of what Doublelift scored. Obviously, they're not picking Player of the Week for fantasy wise, but we are on this show. So Prince, he's probably the best ADC in the league. He's been showing that, but I don't know if he deserved it this week. He deserved it last week more than this week. Last week he was insane.
Yeah, like you said, I think it probably Doublelift should have got it just because of what he meant to the team. But looking at Prince's numbers, I mean, he's got 63% kill participation, 44% kill share.
For sure.
Versus
the kill share for sure has to be high. You said 44%.
Doublelift is at 79% kill participation and 40% kill share. So they're like right there.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, damage for both of them 22.7k. Prince has a little bit more gold, They're both laning at incredible paces. Actually, Double Lift is laning just a little bit better than Prince, just by a tenth. So, Prince's KDA is ridiculous. But
it really is.
Double Lift had to go against C9 in the first game. Big old welcome back, slap you in the face game.
And I want to remember, I think he was playing Varus against, I think, like Akali, Wukong, like just no chance to survive in that game. He was getting dove over tier 2 turrets.
Yeah, definitely. They just basically said, welcome to the league.
For sure.
But I definitely think it's interesting that he got it. But, I mean, when you look at the rest of the league, it's like, well, I don't know. Like, but okay, so you look at the rest of FlyQuest, and Vikla is only garnering 22% of the kill share.
And I bet you before the second before Sunday, that might have been below 10%.
Yeah, I mean, Impact, he's only garnering 16% of the kill share, and Speak is only garnering 16% of the kill share. So it's heavily in Prince. So really, only on FlyQuest, like fantasy wise, it's Prince or bust.
It really is. It really is.
Unless they play through Vikla for somehow Prince gets shut down, and you have that. Honestly, you just have to hope. Spica, he should get some points for getting assists.
He's been fine, right? He's fourth, but he's also the only team that's 4-0. So
he's getting averaging 7.1 assists. So
and on that FlyQuest point, I think maybe everyone's a little too quick to crown them. They've played Gold Guardians, Dignitas, and Liquid. Obviously, the Cloud9 game was huge, and people are going to go off that. But we'll see this week. 100 Thieves and Evil Geniuses will both be awesome games. We're going to move on to players that performed really well. Top scorers across every position except support was 100 Thieves. We already talked about Doublelift going over 100. Bjergsen was at 93.6. He was awesome. Tenacity showed out after getting kind of embarrassed by Fudge last week. 72.2. So 100 Thieves was awesome. I was really high on 100 Thieves in the preseason. I had them ranked number 2 in the league, which is higher than most. I think most people saw them at 4 or 5. That's probably just because I'm an old head. Remember the dominant Bjergsen, the dominant Doublelift, especially like when they're on TSM. So I'm rooting for them, honestly. Are you rooting for them? You have any? I used to root against Doublelift.
I think Bjergsen and I would root against them. I've been ever since I started enjoying League of Legends, in that 2014 year. C9 was that was the team of was it High, Balls, and all those guys, and they made it the farthest in Worlds. And they were the best chance NA ever had
every year. Didn't matter how good they were always the best chance.
Yeah, and ever since then I've been a C9 fan. So Doublelift, Bjergsen, I think they're old and washed.
Fair enough.
That's a personal point. Like, they're probably not washed at the game because I still will tune into Doublelift streams just to watch them. But as far as like competitive wise, again, like he's I got to see you play international to know.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm going to right now. I had FBI, Doublelift, Prince as my top 3 players, and they're currently the top 3 players. I followed it up with Bjergsen, Jojopion, Inspired in that order. So I'm feeling really good about my preseason rankings. Just a little toot. Evil Geniuses was awesome. Again, Jojopion had the horrible game 1 while everyone around him was awesome. I actually took Maple under 2.5 in that game. And he got, Jojopion just absolutely gifted him 2 kills in the first 8 minutes. And Maple was on the Galio. And just the amount of times that Jojopion died with 8 people, all 5 people on top of him. And it was never Maple that got the kill. It was amazing. It's just, like, here it comes. Oh, we're safe. Just on repeat.
I was on the opposite side of that.
Oh, no.
I had Maples over, and when he locked in Galio,
Yeah, you're like, oh, there it goes.
Myself and the rest of the subscribers at ATM were 5 alarm fire where everything was going off.
Correct.
Oh shit, we've lost. This is going downhill in a heartbeat.
Uh-huh.
And then 5 minutes in, 7 minutes in, he
Whatever
already
it was,
has 2 kills.
Yep.
And we were like, he's got to get one more.
Yeah, he's got
to. He's got to come in with the grand entrance. He's got to come in with a fear. He's gonna get it. Like, it just never happened.
And there were so many opportunities.
So many times that there were guys that were around him that were so close. And anytime you saw a kill come up, it was like, oh, dang.
Exactly.
Oh man. It was just right there.
Yeah, and mine was excitement. Yours was disappointment. I don't want to tell. I won $100. I'm sure that's about what you would have won if you hit it too. Yeah,
it's always interesting. You've always got those players where it's like, we had taken, or I had taken, or I had told people to take who was it? It was in the LCK. I have a really bad memory, but it was the 80 carry in the LCK, and I was like, oh, take this guy's under, it's gonna hit, blah blah blah. Game 1 goes through. No, it was in the LLL.
Okay.
It was LLA. Yeah, it was in LLA. Now I'm remembering it. LLA. They were playing one of the top teams. It was like they were again minus 1100 to win. One of these smash spots. Basically, the 2 top teams that were playing were just basically switching bottom half teams, and neither bottom side had allowed the 80 carry to go over 1 kill.
Okay.
Their line was at 2.5.
Just a slam dunk. Yep.
Yeah, slam dunk. We're going to take the under on this, blah, blah, blah. And
20 units.
Or no, it wasn't 2.5. It was like 3.5 or 4.5, something like that. It was like, there's no way this guy's
just like a mistake almost. Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost like a mistake. It's like, why would his line ever be like that? You know? He got 5 kills game 1. They play best of 3. They show up next time, and he didn't get a single kill.
Yeah.
He got absolutely smoke checked. He got there, and then we're like, I'm taking this guy's under in game, and he soared. He didn't get a single kill after game 1, and it was all because of 2 failed bot dives in the first 5 minutes of the game, where he was gifted over 2 free kills and got ahead. I believe it was he got ahead on a Lucian, and
you don't want that to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just certain champions where you're like, oh man.
Yep. Yeah, so a couple other top performers this week. Immortals, obviously, I mean, they weren't amazing, but they were, probably nobody played them. We had them ranked at the bottom for every position, but we see, Kenby here was number 5 on the week. He had 45 points. They were about 5 or 6 ranked in each spot, so they were playable this past week thanks to CLG, who again was not playable, and then Team Liquid with a 2-0 week, bouncing back after, there were some real fears after week 1. I'm still not totally bought in. Did you watch the Team Liquid Golden Guardians game? That was not a good game. I mean, that was some brutal League of Legends in that one.
Is this one where Yon played Lucian?
I don't remember. It's definitely the one where Summit got ahead by 4K on the Aatrox and then into the way 3 kills, including a random TP directly into their whole team. Let me see who Jan played in that one. I've got it right here.
Oh, he played Xayah. Okay.
Yep, that was Xayah.
So many games that I've watched.
I know. I just kept thinking, what is going on here? People just randomly dying. Usually Summit, but happened to I think it happened to Harry a couple times. Happened to Gory once.
It happened with Harry, and it happened with Pioshik too. I think if I remember correctly, he got caught out. He got caught out in the jungle, right? Just just Square got caught out by River.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to say this Liquid team is young, other than Summit and Pyosik.
Yep.
Harry Young, and Core JJ, but
yeah.
I say Piosik's not young because he's won worlds.
How old is Pyosik? I gotta know.
I want to say he's
22. Yep, 22.
At 22. So he's not super young, but he's not super old. He's in the prime for, I would say, a esports player career. It's just weird. Humble brag, to be honest. My cousin is the head of. Basically, he just gets all of Team Liquid's VODs together, breaks them down, kind of goes over them and stuff like that. And
that's the guy I got to ask for merch. Okay. Yep.
yeah. So I haven't been able since they got back from boot camping in Korea. I have not been able to get a hold of my cousin because of his schedule is just absolutely ridiculous. And then you hear, if you've been watching those team videos or whatever, and Core talking about how hey guys, if we want to be the best, we need to train like
old school Korean teams.
Yeah, we need to boot camp like Korean teams. Play scrim and then grind solo queue.
Yeah,
and I really do think not this split. Watch Team Liquid next split, and I think they'll be there.
Okay.
I don't think this split. I don't think this meta really plays well into Yon. It doesn't really offer much to Pyosik. He doesn't really do well on these types of junglers. The
Sejuani, the Maokai. The Kindred's been banned from him first phase all 4 games.
Oh, he's never going to play it.
Never.
If you just won a Worlds and you have your own skin, they're not going to let you play it.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I'm not sold on them, to be honest. I think that Golden Guardians wins that game if they have a draft with any consistent damage whatsoever. But when you play LeBlanc and then Lethality Varus and then support Caitlyn, there's no consistent damage. So that was certainly tough.
Yeah, I just can't wait until this marksman
brutal
goes away.
Core JJ is just dying. I mean, obviously, I guess he got the Blitzcrank. That was a fun one, but that's the kind of champion you need Core JJ to be on, to roam around the map and impact every lane, and you can't do that on Caitlyn's support.
I feel like Core needs to go into some of these other leagues. If you've you say you follow mostly the LCS and stuff.
LCS really closely. LEC I follow pretty well, and then other than that, not a lot.
Man, these other regions have moved away from the double support or double marksman bot lanes.
Good.
You're seeing Blitzcrank. You're seeing Alistar. You're seeing Nautilus come back in. You're seeing all these.
Yeah, that's what we need.
It's almost like basically one team builds the double marksman and they're like, okay, we're just going to be solid poke, and the other team's like, okay, cool, we're just going to kite and scale up, and then we're just going to hard engage you.
Yep.
And you're not going to be able to do anything.
It feels like an ARAM game, right? You just get beat for 15 minutes, you get 2 items, then you just run them over. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. The player of the week this week, fantasy player of the week, Doublelift was the answer. He's the only player who went over 100, had 103, 2 Zeri games, which means if you hit the pick, it could have been 150. Nice week from Doublelift. Old man still has hands. He won me some money in a DraftKings DFS too, so appreciated that.
I need to get back into my DraftKings stuff.
Yeah, I've been pretty good with it. It's weird. It's sometimes you feel like you've got a great lineup and it just isn't there. Sometimes you don't feel like you have a great one. You squeak in the money. So
yeah.
Want to touch on these fantasy rankings, what they are currently. Just before we move into next week's matchups, we're right about now is when we usually cut it as far as time wise, and we're about halfway through. So apologies, we're going to be extra long today. I'll probably cut a bunch of it. Honestly, when it gets,
I'm sorry, I talk long, so you can just tell me stop talking.
I love it. Honestly, I love it. It's been good conversation. I will probably cut some of it for the published podcast, though. Just for the fact of, if every episode's 40 minutes and then this one rolls for an hour and a half, it's kind of weird, but It's all good. It's been the rankings right now, basically what we expected. Honestly, I didn't expect Fly to be 4-0, but I did expect them to be 3rd or 4th in most fantasy rankings. That's kind of fortunate. I'll just read out the top 3 for each position for those of you not watching live. Fudge, Tenacity, Someday in the top lane, Inspired Blabber, Closer in the jungle, Bjergsen, Jojo Pion, Diplex in the mid lane, 80 Carry, FBI, Double Lift, Prince, Support, Vulcan, Sven, Core JJ. We had Core JJ ranked really high. I'd love to see him there, 3rd highest scoring member of Team Liquid by a good bit. Any players that really surprise you out of this list? I didn't have Fudge at the top. I figured they'd play a lot more through Berserker. It's been the opposite. It's been the Fudge show. Fudge is 1. Berserker's actually 5 at his position. Any other ones that kind of jump out at you?
Where's the you have the list?
I've just got it here. Let me throw it in the Discord.
Yeah.
I just have it on my screen here.
So I'd want to say, let's see here. So you've got current ranking. Let's pull this up. Honestly, I think with this meta right now, I would think Sven would be a whole lot higher. I think that's probably my
higher than 2.
Biggest. Yeah, I would be expecting. Honestly, I'd be expecting Sven coming from my world. I'd be expecting Sven to be higher than Vulcan, just because this plays literally into his hand. Where
former 80 carry playing Caitlyn support.
Yeah, you play Caitlyn support, or you play Kalista support, or you play Ashe support, or you play Heimerdinger support. Like literally. He has the ability to, if Berserker's not getting it done, like he could carry, like we saw today in the LEC.
I did see this,
7 kill Heimerdinger at support in that game against.
Did you have the under on the 80 carry that game? He scored 1 kill and a win. Is that?
Neon?
Yeah, is it? Yeah, must.
Yeah, I had Neon's under.
And his support gets 7 kills. That's amazing.
No, that was that game. I believe that was the one against Mad Lions, and they lost.
Gotcha.
I believe that was the Heretics versus Mad Lions today.
Gotcha.
And that only.
Oh yeah, that was the Niski Penta. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
so
let's see.
Yeah.
Pyosik, I would think Pyosik would be. I mean, again, but that's I think another one that people are going to be happy that they have. I really hope Revenge does something.
Yeah.
Watching him in the top lane, he's probably Immortal's best player.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly.
Yeah, when it comes to the content Immortals puts out, he seems to be kind of the central point of all of it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, on the Rift though, like he's able to hold on to. Like, I would feel confident like putting him up on the island and having him hold his own. Obviously, I don't know how he'll do against some of these more aggressive guys like Fudge.
But honestly, Immortals is 1-3, and he's there at the 7th spot, highest scoring player on his team.
Yeah, so. I would say he's probably gonna. I think you might find him, probably closer. I would say to the 5 position.
Okay.
Come end of season.
Yeah, that'll require Immortals to get a few more wins, but they've shown they can do it. They beat CLG last week. Dokla at 8 is kind of sad for me. I'm a big Dokla fan. I ended up going to Worlds one of the weeks of the group stage. We actually met Dokla at a random event, me and my buddies, and he was super nice. Got his autograph. Talked to him for a good bit, like 15 minutes. Nice guy, Dokla, but sitting at 8. Honestly, all of CLG kind of in the dumpster after last week. So we'll move on into next week's games. We'll pull the schedule up here on the screen, but we've also got betting odds for each of the games. We always look into those just because it's going to help you make those decisions. If you know who's favored and by how much. Vegas always knows more than us, or at least that's a good way to start. You probably disagree with that, I guess, in your line of work, but
you like to think you know more than the books.
Exactly.
You like to think you know more, and then you're like, oh, this should totally happen, right? This is supposed to happen, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, nope.
Yeah, you'll get humbled every now and again. Always seems to go that way.
Real easy. Again, like you said, though, there's a couple of matchups on here for LCS that are quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think from a close aspect, I think CLG favored at minus 220 is probably shouldn't be that high.
Yeah,
I think in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read through these for the listeners, and then we can talk about whatever specific matches you want to get into. TSM's Thursday's game lineup. First one is TSM versus C9. C9's at minus 325. FlyQuest versus EG. FlyQuest minus 185. Pretty heavy favorites in that one, which should be awesome. The 1 and 2 in my power rankings there. Team Liquid versus 100 Thieves. Team Liquid actually favorites minus 148. I put 3 question marks by that because that's wild to me. We'll get back to that. CLG minus 220 versus Golden Guardians. Again, high. Immortals versus Dignitas. Dignitas minus 185 after being by far the worst team through the first 4 games. Any of these you're targeting?
From a betting perspective, obviously C9.
Mm-hmm.
That should probably be closer to 600.
Yeah, I agree.
Favorites. Although I will say last year C9 did lose a couple of WTF matchups to TSM.
Yep.
I think that EG versus Fly game is. I don't think FBI and Vulcan are going to be able to beat Prince, but I think if you can have closer affect Vikla in that 2v2 matchup there between Spica and Vikla versus Inspired, not closer. Inspired and JoJo, I think you have a legit shot if you can put Vikla behind.
Yeah.
And
I totally agree there. I'll probably pick EG in that game. I still think they're the best team. I think they just fell into a trap against CLG where they didn't finish the game pre-30 minutes against a Sivir. They had no DPS. I think EG might win this one. We talked about it actually all before we went on stream, but Fliff, which is kind of the main way that I do sports betting, or at least esports betting, has kind of taken it off the table for a bit, and so that's heartbreaking to me because I would love to put a nice fat bet on EG here.
Yeah. I think that, like you said, CLG probably shouldn't be that high. Mm-hmm. I think that should probably be like a minus 117 to minus 106.
Okay.
If the right CLG shows up though, yeah, it's definitely a minus 220. I think.
Right. Golden Guardians 0-4, but they looked okay. Do you put your own lines on these and then compare them to what Vegas has? That was just a very specific number you threw out there for CLG.
No, but I definitely
Just kind of have a feel.
Yeah, like I feel like it should be a whole lot closer.
Yeah.
But definitely with these two teams, kind of like just how they play and game style and stuff like that. Like honestly, it could go either way. So I don't really think that there should be a favorite. I really think that looking at these betting lines, like that game should be more, and it'll probably change throughout the week when money comes in and lines change.
Yeah, and I actually wrote these down yesterday afternoon, so they could have changed.
Potentially, depending on how much money's come in on them. But, like, I really do think, like, CLG should probably be, closer to the, minus 110, minus 120. And GG should probably be, like, minus 106. Because I do think they actually, like, legit have a shot to...
Yeah, I think so, too.
...to beat CLG. So, I think if you're a betting man, I think taking an actual, like, straight-up leg on GG at plus money is great.
How about this Team Liquid 100 Thieves one? I've got Team Liquid favored here. I'm actually going to check it and make sure that hasn't changed, because I couldn't believe when I looked it up that Team Liquid was favored.
That's interesting. I do think 100 Thieves look good, but to be honest, they played TSM.
True.
And they played Dignitas.
Yeah, it hasn't changed really at all. Minus 143.
I don't think they should be that high against Liquid. Like, I definitely think Liquid has a shot to beat them. Because when you look at, obviously, week one, you had them playing probably one of the top 5 teams. I'd say top 2 teams, top 3 in Cloud9, and they got absolutely destroyed.
True. And
then you have them play Immortals, so I think you had them play the bottom 3 teams.
Yep. 100%.
And Immortals, Golden Guardians, and Dignitas, and I think this is a fake line, to be honest.
Okay.
Going forward. I think Bjergsen's going to struggle. I think Double Lift is going to struggle in this matchup here. I do think that they're veteran enough to be able to get themselves far in the game, but yeah, I think this should be a whole lot more closer than what it is.
Yeah, I would think 100 Thieves would be relatively heavy favorites personally, just because I think Team Liquid hasn't looked that good. But I guess it'll be fun to see. It'll definitely be fun to see. Look at Friday's games. Pull up the schedule here again. First one, FlyQuest versus 100 Thieves. Fly minus 200. TSM, CLG. CLG minus 185. Actually, these have changed a little bit. I'm going to read the new ones. So CLG minus 170 is the new line. EG versus C9. This one's pretty close to a pick'em. EG minus 109. Cloud9 minus 120. So slight favorites for Cloud9. Dig versus Liquid. Liquid minus 240. GG versus Immortals. GG minus 150. So big games of the day. FlyQuest versus 100 Thieves. EG versus C9. Top 4 teams all facing each other.
That should be a good day on Friday.
I
think I'll probably personally be targeting the TL and Dig. With CLG versus TSM, and then I'll be taking Fly's lines against 100 Thieves.
Yeah, Fly is so controlled. 100 Thieves, we saw them really rack up the kills last week. Could definitely see 100 Thieves trying to make some plays that backfire pretty heavily against FlyQuest. We'll see. I'll be rooting for 100 Thieves, certainly.
I just need to see Double Lift do it not on Zeri.
That's fair.
Because if you look at his 3 wins, it was all on Zeri.
That's true. Yeah, and you gotta imagine they're gonna ban that away after how good he's looked on it. How about EG versus C9? C9's slight favorites in this one.
I think C9 will stomp him.
Really? Yeah, I don't agree.
I think it should, top 3 is Fly, C9. I think those are interchangeable. And then I think you've got EG, and then you can flip-flop 100 Thieves and TL. And then the rest is a crapshoot.
Yeah, that's fair. It's slightly different than mine. I've got Fly 1, EG 2, and then C900 Thieves, I think, is a toss-up personally. But we'll see. Cloud9's looked really, really good in a few of their games. Anything to touch on? Dig versus TL, Immortals versus GG?
It'll be interesting to see who comes out on the trash heap out of those teams.
Exactly.
I hope Dignitas maybe takes a win against Immortals, and that gives Santorin some confidence. It gives Jensen some confidence. I'm hoping that's the case. Maybe or GG comes out against Immortals. I don't know, man. Like, those 3 are like, roll some dice, and whoever comes out on top that weekend is who comes out on top.
Honestly. And because of that, as we move into rankings for week 3, it's a crapshoot. Like, honestly, because of the way that the schedule falls, as you can see over here on the right side of your screen, and I put it in the Discord so you could see it too. I've got the schedules here for each team. I've got them tiered in the way that I would tier them, kind of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, so we can kind of see who's got tough schedules, who's got easy ones. And you can see Fly has 2 red teams, EG has 2 red teams, C900 Thieves both have 1. And then you look here at the bottom, Golden Guardians, Immortals, and Dignitas, all with easy schedules. And so that's going to flip things on its head, because so many of these games are going to be a toss-up, at least compared to what we see the last 2 weeks, which have been a lot of blowouts, honestly. So I really struggled making my rankings. I went with pretty consistently with C9 across the top, mostly because they have that one game against TSM that they definitely should win. And I think, when you look at FlyQuest, EG, 100 Thieves, they're favored in both, but they haven't been great fantasy team by themselves. Plus, I think both of those teams could beat them. EG versus Fly and C9 probably slightly, not favored in either game.
I think if you, because you personally have EG above C9, right?
Yeah, so I power ranked them here. That's how I have them power ranked. I think CLG and TL probably pretty even.
Okay. I think you should make that maybe EG1 versus C9, like a yellow one. I think that's for.
Yeah.
But I think EG potentially. I think Fly has it pretty well covered against 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
And I think that the only tough one's going to be that Fly EG game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and really I just have this as a way to visualize the toughness of each team's schedule as I try to put rankings together.
I mean, but then do you really want to trust Golden Guardians, Immortals, and Dignitas to go? I mean,
exactly.
To go against each other.
Truthfully, though, is that when we like next week when we look back at the rankings for this upcoming week, one of those teams are going to be high up there. Like, one of those teams is probably going to go 2-0, and they're going to be a top 3 fantasy player this week. I'm not really willing to pick it, though. And the tough part is, you look at CLG here, they got Golden Guardians and TSM. If they beat Immortals last week, I might put CLG at 1 or 2 in every spot. But after losing to Immortals, like, again, are you really going to put all your eggs in that basket? Like, I couldn't get myself to do it. Actually, I guess I kind of did. I put Dokla at 2, but I don't know. I think I got more conservative as I did it. I started with the top lane, moved over to support last. I think as I went, I got more conservative. But so I put C9 across the top for most of it. Mostly again because I think they'll beat TSM pretty handily. I've got FlyQuest right around 3 or 4 for most spots. I got Prince at 2 just because of how heavily they jump or how heavily they feed him. Got Team Liquid pretty high. I think they could beat 100 Thieves. I think they will stop Dig. So this is what I got for rankings this week. Anything you stick out, you're like, no way. That's a terrible call.
I think. I think Revenge should be above Someday.
Above Someday.
Yeah.
Again, it was tough. I'm not sure. I think I have. I mean, at least based on these rankings, I got Dignitas beating Immortals this week.
I just.
I know.
Arma looks so out of place.
He does
in the top lane.
He does. They banned Gnar, and then that's it. Like that's.
Yeah, and I think Revenge might actually be better than Arma, and like I think in that matchup, like it'll probably show. Probably. Man, contracts up. I don't know if I could put. I don't know if I could put contracts under over Spica.
I'm hear you, but Golden Guardians TSM.
Yeah.
I know.
But the only and this it's not skill based. It's literally like I said earlier. What CLG is going to show up? Are we going to get the Palafaker or are we going to get the Palafox?
Right. Exactly.
Are we going to get the real Luger or are we going to get Luger?
Yeah. Honestly,
there were games last year where Luger legitimately like hard carried CLG to a couple of those wins. True.
So, and yet in CLG's win against Evil Geniuses, he had 0 kills.
Exactly. So, I mean, God, I don't know contracts. I don't know, guys up and down, but I think your mids are pretty accurate.
I honestly think I had a harder time this week than I've ever had because of the fact that all the good teams play all the good teams, all the bad teams play all the bad teams, and I just think it's going to be a bloodbath next week when we look back at it. Like, what were we thinking? CLG 3? What were we thinking?
Yeah, I think I just kill share wise and kill participation.
Mm-hmm.
And with this meta, I just think you can't put Berserker 1.
Yeah.
I think just because you've got... I think you can put him maybe 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm. So who would you have 1 then? Is it Prince?
No. Like fantasy-wise?
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Luger.
Okay. I love it.
Because I do think Luger is better than Stixxay.
I agree.
At this point in time.
Uh-huh.
And I think Neo and...
Chime?
Oh, yeah. Neo and Chime are just... You've got to get them on the right team comp.
Yep.
So they're not it. And I think if you can get Luger on a champ, maybe you get him on a Zeri or...
Right. Like the old school Jinx.
Yeah,
obviously not literally Jinx, but something like it.
Yeah, something like that. You get him going ahead, like get contracts down to the bot lane, get Palafox on something that he can control on his own. Like he plays either Azir mid, he plays
not
Victor.
Aurelia.
Yeah, not Aurelia. Play something that he can stand on his own and wave clear and not need contracts to come to his aid.
Mm-hmm.
And you put contracts down there to help Luger, and Luger could have a really good showing this week.
Yeah, I agree. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. You went on the limb that I was unwilling to go on, just purely from a they lost to Immortals last week standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I love C9, and I'm still gonna. I'll tell brutally how it is. Like on that team, they brought Diplix in for a certain reason, and that was to fill in. They didn't want to rely on Fudge. Fudge is doing it on his own because of the champions and the meta that they're in, and he can do it with Fiora, and he can do it with the Cassante.
Yep.
And he can probably do it a little bit on Jax, right?
Yep.
But in this meta, like, there's no, like, it's not a champion that bodes well for Berserker. But this plays right into Diplix, Akali, Ari, Silas.
Yep.
All great champions for him. And you look at the kill shares. Berserker, as an 80 carry, only has 14%. And then jungle, mid, and top all split with basically 25%. You know, a couple numbers here and there. Blabber's at 29.
Right.
Diplix at 22. Fudge at 26. Right? And you still got Sven, who's going to be on, like, honestly, odd man outs is Berserker.
It absolutely has been so far this year. And Berserker was the consensus number one from people that I talked to kind of in the fantasy scene. Berserker went number one in most drafts. In drafts that he didn't, it was either Prince or maybe Jojo Pyun. I had FBI. I think most people had FBI a little bit lower. Obviously, you got him at 8 in your draft. Yeah, Berserker. I mean, people watched the summer finals where they put him on Sivir or Zeri and he just straight carried him. We'll see what they do if they keep playing so heavily through topside. That's been the name of the game so far. Well, let's start wrapping this thing up. We're at an hour 16. It's about 30 minutes longer than normal. I love it. It's been good. It's been good talk, man. I do appreciate it. We usually end with a lock and a fade of the week. So we usually lock of the week's like, here's a player or here's a team that's going to be top 3 that maybe you're not expecting. Fade of the week. Who do you think? Who's usually good that you're not going to really? I mean, obviously, fantasy LCS is weird. It's not like you can bench players, but maybe you're not looking at them for your daily fantasy or whatnot. For the lock of the week, I went with CLG, and so I think we might be on the same page there. You put Loser at 1. I think, again, schedule-wise, Golden Guardians, TSM, I think they'll rebound. I think they egoed a little bit against Immortals. We've talked at length about the Aurelia pick, but I think they'll kind of bring it back in, play what they're comfortable with, and get 2 wins. And I think we probably see a bunch of CLG players in the top 3 for their position.
Yeah, I think I'll go with that, and I'll just throw a bonus one in there because I'm going to just stick with Luger.
Yep.
Hari in the mid lane.
Okay.
If he could get if he can get his act together against Bjergsen, then I don't see him having a problem with Jensen and TL
and Dig. Yep.
And Dignitas. So I'm gonna throw my dark horse is gonna be Harry.
I like it. We in our Super League draft that we streamed. The guy that hosts the Team Liquid fan podcast had the first pick, and Harry went 1 overall in that one. So, yeah, he'll be rooting for that. I think it's a good one. As far as fade, this will be the second time I've done this, and the first time I did, it failed spectacularly. But I'm fading FlyQuest because I think they drop a game either versus EG or 100 Thieves, and even in the games that they've won, they haven't had great fantasy scores. And so I think we might see most of FlyQuest outside of Prince. I'll say outside of Prince, we'll see FlyQuest in the bottom 5. That's where I'm going here.
I'm gonna go ahead and just I kind of already said it, but or alluded to it. Fade Berserker.
You mean the man I have ranked number 180 carry this week?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, until I can see, and I mean, from my perspective and what I look at, until I can see kill participation and kill share come up, then he's not going to be somebody I'm going to be targeting. Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. I like bold ones, and that one is bold. So there we go. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Man, it's been fun. I think you mentioned maybe you want to talk about some other leagues. So if you want, we'll put that on the YouTube. We'll post this whole VOD on the YouTube. So any talk we go after we close out will be on there. But we'll go ahead and close out the podcast episode here. Anything else you want to throw in before we close?
Oh, I appreciate you having me on. I'd love to come back and chat. Maybe not run my gums so long, but but yeah, definitely. If you guys are ever interested, come check us out. atmcrew.gg. We're putting together, esports betting website there, and have the Discord that we run through, and do a lot of our content through there. So, big things for us to come in the year. So,
yeah. How new is that? Is that pretty recent, or you've been doing it for a while?
We just started the website in September.
Okay.
We've
looks great, honestly.
Yeah. We rolled out projections for CS:GO in January. We're looking to get projections for Rocket League,
Nice.
League of Legends. League of Legends is hard, obviously.
Oh, for sure.
Trying to get Dota, but also if you're in the props game or anything, if you know what props.cash is, kind of like this trends tendency tool that you can see past 5 performances, past 10 performances in certain maps, and we're looking to get like a tool like that for the website. So that's something we're looking to build out.
Nice. Yeah, very good. And if maybe you're a fan of Miles and you're seeing us for the first time, best place for any Fantasy LCS content, at least for these sleeper leagues and such, it's our Discord channel. You can find it in our Twitter handle. You can find it on the description of the podcast. You can find it really anywhere, but that's the best place. We're always talking about games as they happen, or random discussions. The big one last week was Jensen versus Maple. We talked about how the answer was neither. They're both terrible. But so join that. We got leagues actually still forming. I think one was formed last night. So that's a good place to go for Fantasy LCS stuff. I'm partnered with the Ego app, which I'm not sure if that's something you're familiar with. It's actually it's based in Europe. It's a bunch of Swedish guys that run it, but it's basically fantasy esports in an app where you win prizes. They've done CS:GO and Dota. They just got into League of Legends for Worlds, and so they do a fantasy competition. It's split long, but it's just for the LEC. And so it's it's very DraftKings similar, where they put a price out. And you got to put together your lineup. A couple of different quirks. You can change lineups a couple times through the split. Free to enter, cash prizes. So first prize is actually $5,000. About 3,000 people in it. So if you're interested in that, I've got that link also in the Discord, or on Twitch. You can link to it there. It's a little weird. You have to create a profile on the internet, but then you have to do it on the app because of just the way that the laws are between Sweden and the United States. Kind of weird, but definitely check that out. Twitter's LFL Pod. YouTube, all the stuff. Thank you so much for listening in. Thank you, Miles, for joining me today. I am Pistons Wish. You've been listening to the League of Fantasy Legends, and we are signing off. Peace out. And now that all the next day listeners are gone, I want to know what you think about LEC tomorrow, because that's been killing me in that app. So we had to pick a team at the beginning of the split, and I had 2 guys from XL on my squad, so I'm basically out. I'm towards the bottom, and they brand me on there as a fantasy expert, and not good when you're in the bottom half as a fantasy expert.
Yeah, XL didn't do too well.
Terrible.
I believe they actually just got pushed out today.
They're officially eliminated. I had Odo Omna and Vithio in my lineup, and I've only watched 2 of their games. There was the one game I watched. I can't even remember who they played. It might have been their loss against Astralis, honestly. It's just like every time there was a fight, VTO's on the wrong side of the map. Like every single time they fought, it was 4v5 with VTO farming somewhere. They've been so bad.
He just hasn't been doing it, man. Coming from last split, where he was, or not at least last year where he was on Misfits, where he was being garnered as, potential MVP of the league.
Honestly.
I think for Spring Split, and kind of fell off there. Cadriel brought up a really good point. You can't build super teams. And as much as you want to not say it is, like, for the LEC, that's a super team.
Yeah.
Bunch of veterans getting together and playing. That's definitely an EU super team. That's not I wouldn't say that's a super team for the world, but yeah.
Can I pause a second? Could you kill the audio recording?
Yeah.
The larger the file is, the longer it'll take to send over and stuff. Any specific ones you put? I'm so mad that Fliff is not going right now because that's the way I've been doing it.
Yeah, Fliff doesn't have any more. If you do a Bovada or Pinnacle or something like that, but Fliff taking it off really because they started with LPL, then they added the LCS, and then I was like, oh wow, and then they added LCK, and I was like, awesome, and then I realized it was Challenger, and I was like, oh man,
yeah, yep.
And I'm like, I'm not going to bet on that because that's even more volatile.
Right.
And then they added.
Is that the league that had the? I forget what they call it. The draft, where if once you pick someone, you can't pick them for the next game.
No.
Okay.
No. The challengers is just just the academy teams for LCK, but they're volatile sometimes. They'll bring out some wacky ass composition or some like way off meta champion, and you're like, why the hell are you taking this?
Right.
But yeah, LEC tomorrow. Looking at the lineup of what we've got, let's see here. You've got BDS versus Heretics. That should be a pretty messy matchup. Probably a lot of kills. These are both teams that are coming from the BDS. Heretics they took one of the positions, or they bought one of the positions in that league, so that they brought their team up and created it. And then obviously you have BDS that brought their academy guys up from last year. So I think I give this more to, like, personally, like Nuclear and Crowny and Adam are really solid, but having a veteran presence like Yankos in the jungle is really helping Heretics. I think they're able to close games out versus BDS, where it's just kind of like, if they scale better than you, then they're just going to overpower you and win the game, and they're not going to really macro very well.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a messy series, to be honest. I want to see BDS win.
Okay. What'd you make of the BDS loss today against Vitality? The 11 death bow with the victory.
Yeah. So that was legitimately BDS not knowing how to close a game. That's all it was.
Yep.
They couldn't close, and they allowed Vitality to come back on the map. Death timers were at the point where it was basically a minute. They lost the team fight, and Vitality just came right back in, and Winions.
Yep.
So I mean, when you've got veteran players, they will know how to close a game out versus a young team like that. So they're probably gonna have to work on this split to close it out. But they'll definitely be dangerous next split.
Yeah.
For spring. This Koi and Astralis matchup, Koi they've got to win. I think they lost.
I don't know the
I think it's between Koi and Astralis, if I remember watching it correctly.
Well, I've got the standings here. So Koi and Astralis are both 3 and 5. Fnatic's at 2 and 6. I don't know who Fnatic beat. Let's see.
Well, Fnatic is just poor at this point, but
Fnatic lost to Astralis. So you got to assume they lose the tiebreaker.
So I think it's between. If I remember watching, Quick Shot. Or no, not Quick Shot. I just was watching the LEC today. I think they may mention that it's between Koi and Astralis. I think.
Well, Fnatic beat Koi, so you got to think that if Astralis wins, and let me pull this up again. If Astralis wins and Fnatic wins, then probably Koi's out.
Yeah.
And Astralis is pretty much they're clinched through, aren't they?
Yeah.
Amazing. Team that was unanimously going to be the worst team. They've been pretty good.
I think Koi's going to win. They're going to beat Astralis. I think.
You got to think so, honestly.
Yeah.
But, Astralis were 0-5. They've won 3 in a row. Nice. I can't believe Koi's been so bad.
It's just not their meta.
Yeah, I guess.
I really believe it's not their meta. I just, this, I'm Larson. He hasn't been playing well. Malrong hasn't been playing well. God, who's up in the top lane for him?
That's the only position that changed from last year, from their Worlds run.
Yeah, because they did have Odawamne up there.
Right.
Yeah, I can't remember who's in the top lane for them right now.
Cisgenda?
Oh, is it Agenda? Yeah, I think he's their problem.
Okay.
Honestly, he's their weak link.
Yeah, Odawamne would be gloating if his team wasn't even worse.
Yeah. I think an interesting game tomorrow will be SK versus Fnatic. And I think XK will win just because their bot lane is just that much better right now. Reckless went up against them in the LFL last year.
Okay.
But it's Exekick and DOS. And they've really come on the scene and done well. Certus is just kind of getting there by luck. Humanoid is not playing well at all. So I think, if anybody's listening and you're on Prize Picks, free card for tomorrow, I think is Reckless under 4 kills. I don't think there's any way he gets 4. They got beat by Astralis today, and Kabe is not the greatest, but Exekick and DOS are way better than Kabe is right now. Kabe and I can't remember who the
and I think
support is for Astralis, but
obviously you'll be able to say this better than me, but I feel like a lot of times, Prize Picks specifically, a little slow to adapt to how these teams are faring, and obviously Fnatic is the big name. So if you're just like a rando going on Prize Picks, you're not really paying attention. Oh, Fnatic numbers are pretty low. But they've been so bad, shockingly bad.
Yeah, it looks like Reckless is over the hill. He hasn't been there for a while.
Honestly, he's been playing though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think another good one for tomorrow is Hansama over and Karzi under.
Do they? Is that against? Yep. Mad versus G2.
Yeah, Mad versus G2. Karzi went over today, but I think that was just because of how Heretics play. Karzi's been getting around 3 kills. But G2 is just they get a vice. They've been getting a vice grip lead in the beginning and just not letting go and snowballing so perfectly to 24, 25 minute wins that I think Mad will just find the mistake, and Niski will either int, trying to get his team ahead, or, yeah, I mean, it'll be a good matchup, but I think that you could take Carzzy under. And then you've got Vitality versus XL. I mean, God, like
you gotta think that's a bloodbath.
You could probably take Patrick under, but like
you gotta feel like a team like XL, they're eliminated. They're gonna win tomorrow. That's just how that stuff goes. All the pressure's off. It's like North America at Worlds, right? You're eliminated. Now go beat the Korean team.
It's like, do I just run it back and take Neon under 4-5? Like,
yeah.
It's like I'm looking. Let me pull him up right now. Let me actually do some research. So with Neon, he's only averaging 3 kills. He's averaging 2 deaths, 6 assists. He's only garnishing 19% of the kill share, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, for a bot laner.
Yeah, for a bot laner. And he has only against G2 and Heretics, and Heretics is a really high CKPM. He's only covered this line 3 times out of the whole year. Against Fnatic on Ezreal, Heretics on Zeri, and then G2 on Varus. I think tomorrow, if you've got that game script that XL have nothing to lose and they're just going to go out there and have fun, then take Neon under.
Yeah, sometimes having fun leads to many deaths.
Potentially.
But we'll see. That'll be an interesting game. Kind of the 2 super teams. I was so curious to see how Bo would do the split. He's been good. He's been a psychopath, like everyone said he would be. But it's been fun to watch.
Oh yeah, he's definitely been a psychopath. All right.
Yeah. Do you like the way the new LEC, like the format?
Yes, I think LCS should adopt something to that effect. They need to go best of 3s.
I wholeheartedly agree.
You can't play 2 games a week and expect to be good.
Yeah, it'll be tough for sure, though. Just having 2 teams not play for so long, like that's kind of crazy. But
yeah, they'll be playing scrims though.
True.
So they'll be able to practice and stuff like that because they're. Even when, teams are out for Worlds and stuff like that, they're still scrimming against other teams. So
right. Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think that about brings us to our end. But
yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. A couple of LEC plays. I'll hope the ones that you gave hit because they'll be going on my slate. On my card. So
there you go.
All right, well, I appreciate it. We'll get you back on here at some point, and
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's been fun. So thank you.
How do you want me to send you this audio file?
Yeah. Here, let me go ahead and kill this stream. Thanks, guys, for watching the stream. We are out. See you later.